August 16, 1996, Brookfield Zoo in Chicago. An earthquake of emotion ripples through the crowd of visitors. A 3-year-old boy lies unconscious at the bottom of the gorilla enclosure, 7 meters below the protective barrier. Panic, screaming, parents in despair. And then, something impossible. A female gorilla, with her own infant on her back, approaches the injured child. What happens in the next seconds will forever change our understanding of compassion in the animal kingdom. The story of Binti Jua is more than just a newspaper headline. It is a profound meditation on the nature of empathy, maternal instinct, and the unexpected bond between species. In a world where we often view wild animals as unpredictable and potentially dangerous, this extraordinary incident forces us to rethink our assumptions. Brookfield Zoo was like any other American zoo, a place where families came to admire majestic creatures from a safe distance. The gorilla enclosure was designed with safety in mind. High walls, a moat, and barriers were intended to prevent any dangerous interactions. But on this summer afternoon, the little boy's curiosity proved stronger than all precautions. Binti Jua was no ordinary gorilla. Born on March 17, 1988 at the Columbus Zoo in Ohio, she was a western lowland gorilla, a critically endangered species. Her name, which means daughter of the sun in Swahili, was prophetic. She was moved to Brookfield Zoo as part of a breeding program to preserve her endangered species. What made Binti Jua particularly interesting was her own story. She was raised by humans herself after her biological mother abandoned her as an infant. The zoo's trainers had to teach her how to be a mother using dolls and positive reinforcement. When she gave birth to her first child, Kula, in 1995, experts watched anxiously to see whether these lessons in motherhood would stick. Fortunately, Binti Jua turned out to be a natural and caring mother. On that August day, no one could have predicted that these maternal instincts would be tested in the most dramatic way. No one could have imagined that the young gorilla, just 8 years old, would become an international hero and change the way scientists and society view the emotional intelligence of animals. It was a hot August day, typical of summer in Chicago. The sun shone brightly over the Brookfield Zoo as families strolled along the paths, looking for both entertainment and relief from the heat. The gorilla enclosure has always been one of the most popular attractions. Visitors flocked to the barrier, amazed by the powerful primates that moved gracefully around their spacious home. In the crowd was a family with a small, curious boy. He was 3 years old, an age when the world is an endless series of fascinating puzzles to solve. His eyes were shining as he watched the gorillas. He wanted to see more. He wanted to be closer to these amazing creatures. In the split second that his caregivers looked away, the boy began to climb. Little fingers grabbed the barrier, little feet found support. Before anyone could react, his balance failed. Gravity took over. The world slowed down and sped up at the same time. Screams echoed in the air as the boy fell 7.5 meters to the concrete surface below. The sound of the impact was terrifying, a dull, final sound that made the hearts of all witnesses sink. The boy lay motionless at the base of the catwalk, unconscious. His head hit the concrete as he fell, and his small body was folded in an unnatural position. Above him, behind the barrier, chaos began. The mother screamed. The father desperately tried to find a way to get to his son. Other visitors shouted for help. Some tried to call the emergency number. Others looked for zoo employees. But the most terrifying thing was the situation in the catwalk itself. The group of gorillas, disturbed by the sudden noise and intrusion, began to move. Gorillas are powerful, unpredictable creatures. An adult male gorilla can weigh up to 200 kilograms and has the strength of 10 men. In a stressful situation, with a foreign intruder in their territory, the reaction could be brutal. Time seemed to stand still. Everyone watched in horror, not knowing what would happen. Zoo staff have been called, but it will take precious minutes to reach the enclosure. Every second mattered for the unconscious child lying defenseless among wild animals. And then, from the back of the runway, Binti Jua came running. An 8-year-old female gorilla, with 17-month-old Kula attached to her back, began to approach the fallen boy. Her movements were deliberate, decisive. The crowd above her groaned collectively. Was this the beginning of tragedy? Were they about to witness something terrible? No one was prepared for what happened next. Binti Jua approached the unconscious boy with a caution that seemed almost human in its gentleness. Her large, intelligent eyes examined the small, defenseless creature before her. The other gorillas in the enclosure began to approach, their curiosity piqued by the presence of the intruder. But Binti Jua stood between them and the child. What happened in the next moments was captured on video by several visitors and became one of the most extraordinary examples of animal behavior ever recorded. Binti Jua touched the boy gently, as if assessing his condition. Her movements were incredibly gentle, considering her strength. Then, in a gesture that made the entire crowd gasp, she lifted the baby into her arms. Kula, her own baby, was still clinging to her back, but Binti Jua managed to keep both young beings safe. The way she held the boy was noteworthy. She wasn't clumsy or aggressive. Instead, she held him as she would hold her own child, close to her chest, protecting his head. You could almost see the motherly instinct in her eyes, the same caring attention she showed Kuli. When the other gorillas tried to get closer, Binti Jua turned to them with a clear message: stay away. Her posture was protective, her intentions clear. This child, although not of her species, was in her care. No other gorilla dared to approach. Above her, the crowd of visitors was in a state of bewilderment. The screams turned into silent silence. People watched in disbelief as the gorilla, an animal that many considered dangerous and unpredictable, behaved with incredible compassion and intelligence. Binti Jua began to move across the catwalk, not by accident, but with a clear purpose. She carried the boy toward the keeper access door, the area where zoo staff entered the enclosure to feed and care for the animals. As if she knew there would be help for the injured child there, zoo workers who had just arrived watched in amazement. They had protocols for situations like this, but none of them covered what was happening. The gorilla did their work for them. When Binti Jua reached the door, she gently placed the boy on the ground, just inside the entrance. Her task was finished. She took a few steps back, still observing but giving the staff space to act. It was as if she knew her role was over, that now others had to take over. The rescue team immediately went into action. Within minutes, the boy was safely removed from the enclosure and handed over to waiting paramedics. His injury was serious, a broken hand and a deep wound on his head, but he survived. Doctors later said that if he had been left without help any longer, or if he had been treated aggressively by the gorillas, the outcome could have been much worse. News of Binti Jua's heroic act spread like wildfire. Within hours, the story was on every news channel in the United States. By the next day, she was making headlines around the world. The Chicago gorilla became an international sensation. The public reaction was overwhelming and overwhelmingly positive. People from all corners of the world sent letters, flowers, and gifts to the Brookfield Zoo. Binti Jua received a special award, the American Legion Medal of Honor for heroism. She became only the second non-human in history to receive this distinction. The first was a horse. But beyond the immediate media sensation, the incident raised deep questions and debates in the scientific community. Primatologists, animal psychologists, and ethologists began to debate what really drove the Binti Jua to act the way they did. Some scientists argued that her behavior was purely instinctive. As a mother with an infant of her own, her maternal instinct simply kicked in when she saw a helpless young creature in danger. It wasn't conscious compassion, but a biological imperative encoded in her genetics. Others disagreed. They pointed out the specifics of her actions, the way she blocked the other gorillas, the way she carried the boy to the guardian's door, the way she gently laid him down. This all suggested a level of intentionality and understanding that went beyond simple instinct. Maybe, they argued, gorillas and other higher primates are capable of true empathy, able to recognize suffering in others and respond with compassion. Particularly fascinatingly, the life story of Binti Jua herself was brought into the discussion. The fact was that she had been raised by humans, that she had been taught how to be a mother through training. Did this experience, this close contact with human caregivers, these lessons in care and nurturing, influence her reaction that day? Did she learn interspecies empathy from the people who cared for her? Dr. Kristen Lucas, primate curator at Brookfield Zoo, has spent years analyzing the incident. Binti Jua showed us something extraordinary, she said in an interview years later. Whether we call it instinct or empathy or something in between, it revealed the depth of emotional complexity that exists in gorillas. It forced us to rethink our assumptions about animal intelligence and emotional abilities. The incident also had an impact on the zoo's policy. Many institutions around the world have re-evaluated their safety protocols, increased barrier heights, and added additional safeguards to prevent similar accidents. But there was also something else, a new appreciation for the animals in their care. For Binti Jua herself, life continued relatively normally. She didn't understand her fame, didn't realize that she had become a symbol of compassion around the world. She still took care of Kula. She was still part of her family group of gorillas. She later had more offspring, raising each with the same tender care she had shown him that August day. As for the boy, he fully recovered from his injuries. His family never spoke publicly about the incident, protecting his privacy as he grew older. But somewhere out there is a young man who owes his life to an extraordinary act of kindness from a being that many people would not even consider capable of such an act. The story of Binti Jua is more than just an affectionate anecdote. It is a window into the complex emotional world of our closest evolutionary relatives. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. If gorillas can show compassion, what else can they do? If they can recognize suffering and respond with care, how should we treat them? What moral obligations do we have towards them? Decades of research since this incident have only strengthened what Binti Jua showed us that day. Gorillas and other great apes display extraordinary cognitive and emotional abilities. They mourn their dead. They develop lasting social bonds. They use tools. They communicate using complex gestures. Some even learned sign language to communicate with people. But perhaps what's most striking is this: they show empathy, not only towards members of their own species, but, as Binti Jua showed, towards beings from other species. This is a profound truth that should inform how we share our planet with these extraordinary animals. Today, western lowland gorillas, a species called Binti Jua, are critically endangered. Their numbers in the wild have declined by more than 60% over the last 20 years due to poaching, habitat loss, and disease. If we don't take significant action, we may lose it completely within our lifetime. Binti Jua's story reminds us of what we will lose if this happens. It's not just the loss of a species, it's the loss of beings capable of love, of care, of compassion. It's the loss of our cousins, creatures who share a common ancestor with us, and, as it turns out, share something else fundamental with us: the ability to empathize. On August 16th each year, Brookfield Zoo remembers the incident that made their gorilla famous. But it shouldn't just be an anniversary, it should be a reminder that compassion transcends species, that intelligence and emotions come in many forms, and that every being capable of such an act of kindness deserves our protection, our respect, and our care. Binti Jua showed us, in one extraordinary moment, the best of what nature can be. Now it's up to us to show her and all the gorillas the same in return.